Welcome to Chapter 4. In this chapter, we're going to take your CAD projects and bring them into a production area like SendCutSend. We're going to go over everything from different CAD file types, how to export them, and how to import them into SendCutSend's website. In Lesson 1, we're going to start with different CAD file types. So let's get into it. Once you're ready to take your CAD project and bring it into a production area like SendCutSend, you need to be able to export the correct file. And that can be very overwhelming. There's tons of different options, and there's also complexity when adding 2D and 3D file types. So let's come over here to the whiteboard and go over a lot of different examples. Now I broke this into 2D and 3D options. And if you remember back in Chapter 3, we have 2D and 3D machines. And this is going to follow that same suit. 2D options are going to be great for things like laser cutting, water jetting that are going to be through cuts on a 2D machine. Now, when you do an export of a 2D file, you're going to see 4 main file types: DXF, DWG, SVG, and AI. One main key term that we're going to introduce is a native file type, and that's a file that was made specifically by a software and used by that software. A great example of this is our AI, which is an Adobe Illustrator file. You can guess it, made by Adobe Illustrator. Additionally, another one in this list is DWG. Now this is a native file to Autodesk, but is a little bit more widely used. The one main one that we want to focus on is DXF, which is Drawing Exchange Format. This is going to be our neutral format. This is the one that's used widely across the industry, can be used in all the different CAD softwares, as well as places like SendCutSend to cut your parts. So when we think 2D, I want you to think 2D machine, and I want you to think DXF. All right, moving over to 3D. Now this is where it gets a little bit more complex. There's 2 different types of 3D files. There is a 3D solid and a 3D mesh. A great example of this is to think about my head here. If I were to paper mache all the way around my head and create a mask, take that mask off, you would have my 3D head as it is, which is a solid, and then you'd have a paper mache version of my head, which is hollow, and that's going to be our 3D mesh. Now, the solid version, I want you to think about as machining or milling type files. These are going to be solid. They're great for understanding properties like density as well. Now, within that, they still have native files that are made by specific softwares. So you're going to see SolidWorks and Fusion has specific 3D files that you can share. The cool thing about these is that if you stay within those native files and you share it with somebody else, to say Fusion to Fusion, you're also going to get all that history and timeline carried through with it. It's a great option. If you don't care about that, you can always export, which is known as our neutral format of our SolidWorks or solid files, is our STEP, Standard Exchange Product Model. This is the one that you're going to see widely used again across all of these options, including SendCutSend can accept these. So when you think in solid files and you want to do some CNC milling, I want you to think about STEP files specifically. Now, where do we use mesh files? Now, there's 3 main mesh files, STL, Object, and 3MF. Now, these are going to be used primarily for additive things like 3D printing. They don't care necessarily about what's in it because they're going to change that structure. They just need to know the outer shape of it so that they can create that model. This is one that we're not going to necessarily focus on when we're doing the export idea of this. We're going to focus on these 2 as you're bringing your project into a place like SendCutSend. So with that, now we understand the different types of 3D models and 2D models that we have available to us. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about how to get those exported out of Fusion and available for import. So we'll see you on the next one.